Hello, and welcome back to the latest episode of Master None Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Murphy, as always, and I'm joined by the usuals at this stage, Westy and Sam, for the recap of week 9, second last week, the penultimate week. Only one more week to go, boys, and then we're done.
Could be the last week. Could be all over.
Yeah, true, actually. Yeah, the COVID cases in New Zealand, and they're basically back in sort of stage 2 lockdown, so we don't know. At the moment, I've seen that they can have crowds up to 100, so I'd imagine the game will go ahead, but behind closed doors.
That means
can you think of another way to say it's the second last week? You've already said like 7, penultimate, second last week, almost the end. I mean, any more? Do you want to get more out before we get going?
Nearly the swan song. Like a signet song.
Signet song?
That's a swan joke off the bat. So first game, obviously Hurricanes versus Chiefs. We watched it Saturday morning. Yeah, great win, Sam. Great win.
Huge.
Actually, I'd say though you were, quite nervous through some dodgy moments in this game. As you said before, Chiefs have to win one, which
Chiefs have to win one. I think when Chiefs pulled it back to a 1-score game midway through the first half, that's when I was kind of a little bit nervous. I was like, heck, we needed to really capitalize on that sort of good possession, good running, good hard attacking rugby, but they just couldn't score. And then Chiefs pulled it back, and I can't remember offhand, but it was got back to 12-7 or something at one stage.
No, they got it back to the halftime. They got it back to 12-10.
12-10, yeah. And when it got back to that kind of stage throughout the first half, I was like, need to really up it now, because it was definitely Hurricanes all day in terms of like who was winning the collisions, who was running hard, who had the better territory. Just not capitalizing. It was the same as like weeks 3 and 4 where Hurricanes were constantly like knocking on the door and in the 22, but just not capitalizing on a good possession. And then like it was like in the Blues game where they just let Blues score, or Crusaders game where they let Crusaders score 4 from 4. It was the same 4 from 4 attacks or whatever. It was the same with that of the weekend. I thought the Hurricanes, and then they did, in fairness, like second half they kind of ran riot a bit and got the scores, got the 4 scores they needed to keep themselves in the conversation until Sunday, and then it was so close.
In vain. Well, yeah, it started off the game like Umaga Jensen scores 2 pretty early on. I know, again, continuing on his fantastic form. Like where do we think, like Westy, where do you think he's in like selection for the All Blacks now? Is his name in the draw, or is he still kind of just a bit too far out?
No, I think he's definitely in the draw. I mean, it depends, like especially with like Lamapi injured now, you know.
Yeah.
I think New Zealand might try and go with kind of a bit of flash and bang, you know. So you go with someone like Jack Goodhue, who's, you know, offloading and passing game at the weekend was brilliant, and then you go with maybe someone like Umaga Jensen, who then brings you that power as well at centre. So
Umaga Jensen absolutely spanked Jack Goodhue up and down the pitch there a couple of weeks ago. So
Oh no, Jack Goody's defence has been terrible for the last couple of weeks. I'm not disagreeing with that, but attacking he's really good. So
and he's only 25, so he's probably going to get better as well, which is sort of scary.
You'd love to see Lamapi back fit so that he can enter the conversation as well, because he's definitely there. And then one of the Ionis, I can't remember, Rico Ioni is the wingers playing centre.
Rico.
I remember which one. Yeah, he's like, here he's the back row, and Rico's the winger playing centre. He was playing unbelievable at the start of the competition as well. So you 4 there.
There is an Ioani fly half for the Highlanders as well.
Yeah,
Josh. So
yeah, but he was brilliant. So they're all in the conversation really, and man, good luck to anyone who comes up against any combination of any two of them.
It's not. I wouldn't like to be the opposition. Let's just say that. But Sam Cane got a bad knock in this earlier on. Like I think basically he came off. It looked like Jody Barrett's hip, but he was pretty much concussed as soon as he got knocked. And apparently he's okay, but not a nice knock. But yeah, half time like 12 points to 3. Like Hurricanes in control, but Chiefs obviously still in it. And then second half gets underway, and my boy Sean Wainui scores in the corner. Does he do that?
No, I made it up today.
Oh, I love it.
It's like he's doing a little butterfly for you. He's
exactly.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
He should do that.
You know, Zebo does his.
Yeah.
You go like, Wainui. How do you do an N?
You need to do like a Westie leg.
Yeah, West. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not trying to start any beef. That's a dangerous sign where I come.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. In the ghetto streets of Ballina.
West Ballina, born and raised in the playgrounds where he spent
raised.
most of his days.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually in East Ballina. I don't know. I don't know the
Oh.
directions of Ballina. Maybe I'm in South Ballina.
We'll go with West for the.
You got to be one of them anyway. So.
Yeah. Are you southwesterly? We don't know. But yeah,
Give me a
so
compass,
second half, yeah, second half gets kicked off and they score again. Like that's why Sam, I'd say at that stage you definitely were worried, and then but Dane Coles shortly after kind of crosses over, and then shortly after that,
he's a lovely winger hooker now. Dane Coles, he's like hanging out.
I'd love to know how many tries he scored. Like it must be up there with Sean Cronin numbers.
But he hangs out. It's like Sean Cronin's a lovely like pick off the back of a rolling maul, but Dane Coles is like, intercepting between a second centre and the winger, like his own second centre and winger. Like he's coming like a train coming on the touchline sidelines. He's pacey, but he scores so many tries.
I've never seen New Zealand always like only New Zealand have I seen games where like the fly half will chuck a 30-yard pass out to the wing and a hooker will be standing there waiting to receive the ball. Like no other country does it. It's just ridiculous, but it works. They have Cody Taylor as well who can move. The Van Wyk, I can never really pronounce his name. Van Wyk.
Coach Van Wyk.
Van Wyk.
Yeah,
scored a lovely try after that as well. Lovely crossfield kick, which bounced up perfectly for him. But
he's a big loss now. Like he's South African, so he was never going to be around for too long. I think in Super Rugby, especially in the New Zealand franchises, they want players that are eligible for New Zealand. Kind of, I think you have a max of 3 non-New Zealand eligible players per squad. So he was never going to be around too long, but I didn't see him moving to Leicester, like just based off this Super Rugby Aotearoa tournament. He's been playing pretty well. He's been there after having a good few years with Stormers and stuff, and then moving to Leicester now after this finishes. So he'll be playing for Leicester in the Premiership a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
That'll be a big loss for them now, in fairness.
It's a good addition for Leicester. I think he's going to be...
Oh, huge addition, yeah.
He's a big boy.
Signing as well.
Yeah. The Chiefs then kind of got another big try on the 65 minutes to keep them alive. But then kind of Hurricanes sealed it off with a lovely Jamie Boot offload to Proctor for that try. Did you notice, Westy, I don't know if you saw it as well, like they kept TJ on and kind of put him out like on the wing. Was it wing or was it like just kind of hanging about?
I think they moved him into centre because your man came on, the substitute scrum half. And it actually came up like on the screen. The commentator said he's on for TJ Bernara, but he wasn't at all. I can't think of the chap's name now. I'm trying to look it up here.
Jamie Booth.
Jamie Booth, yeah, that's it. So it was interesting. Like, I mean, it worked. I think Paranara is one of the real leaders in that Hurricanes team, and I think even they kind of saw the Chiefs had the potential to, outside of that last 10 minutes, you never really thought Chiefs were out of it, and I think, I mean, apart the yellow card was obviously great for the Chiefs. Definitely a yellow, by the way, off the ball, ridiculous kind of dunk tackle that Copus Van Wyk went for. But yeah, I think the fact they left TJ Paranara on was just like they were kind of afraid of the Chiefs rally in the last 10 minutes and kind of getting back within a score.
He does play a lot of out half as well. Not from the start, but he plays a lot of out half towards the ends of games. They bring on like a Booth kind of style sub scrum half and move him to out half, and he kind of runs the game from there. He's very versatile in that manner, so it's good. Like you're saying, he's such a good leader, and scrum halves get taken off quite often. Like even with the likes of say Conor Murray, even in his prime, was still coming off with 20 to go. Like it's freshening up the halfbacks is a thing that happens, but if you can freshen up the halfback but keep the experience on, that's always going to be beneficial. So like moving him out like they did.
And he's not that small of a lad either. Do you know what I mean? Like he's I'd say he's bigger than you think he is in person, I'd say. So I mean, he could probably carry himself, okay. I'd say more so than Aaron Smith. I'd say Aaron Smith's quite a bit smaller than he is. But interesting to see that. Didn't expect it. Sam just getting lit up there with some sort
of I forgot that it would change. I just want to see he's 94 kg, so he's not small, like he's decent enough weight for an out half centre winger.
Just like Westy, you're like 90, aren't you? 90?
Yeah, I think I'm like 92.
I think Matt Healy is. I think Matt
14
Healy's
stone at my best.
I think Matt Healy's 92 according to the Connacht latest thing, because when I was looking at it, I was like, Matt Healy's the same weight as me, and he's fairly trim. And then I was like, looking down and going, nah, I'm not the same 92 as Matt Healy is.
I did
There's our
something.
token cock plug for the podcast, by the way. Hashtag send more guests.
Yeah, I know, right? Please, anyone. We'll take anyone. I wanted to see, because we kept saying how dependent the Chiefs are on Mackenzie. So I did some adding up on my calculator, but I know, right?
What you call your brain?
I did it after I typed in boobs upside down. Obviously, I then did some adding up of the game. So across the 9 games, Chiefs scored 155 points in total. So I then added up to see what Mackenzie had scored out of those points. So what do you kind of think, out of the 155, what would you have thought going in that roughly he would have scored? Westy, you go first. 10 points in an imaginary game to whoever gets closest.
155, you said. It's going to be at least half, right? So I'm going to go with 84.
No, I'm going to go with 100 on the money. So 55. So I'm going to say 11 tries were scored by other people.
So you're going with 100 on the nose, and Westy, you are 84.
84.
The correct answer is, drum roll, please. 83 points. Well done, Westy.
God!
Fucking hell.
I know, yeah. I would have thought it was higher too, Sam.
The meatloaf! We want it now!
10 points to use wherever which way you want, Westy.
I'm extremely impressed that Chiefs scored 155 points.
Remember
most of these points. Like
they scored 30 points like twice or 3 times in a game.
Yeah.
Like they lost by like 3 or 4 points both those games, but they did score. There was a couple of 15, 13, 12 point games as well, but still Mackenzie scoring over half your points, which I get it, he's fly half, he takes the penalties and stuff like that, but I feel like you're still relying too much on one player to get the bulk of your points there.
Well, we said it a few weeks ago, didn't we? Like he's like the second highest point scorer in the competition. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was a week or two ago. And like they haven't won a game. Like it's almost baffling. Like
but so much stuff about the Super Rugby is almost baffling. Like that stat that like Hudson Tutu was still like most turnovers.
Yeah,
like week 2.
Hasn't played. Yeah, that's impressive. But do we feel like Mackenzie's stock has risen or dropped through this when it comes to All Black selection?
I don't know if if his stock has dropped, but I think other people's stock has risen a lot more. So I think he's effectively dropped, because at the minute, I mean, he's on the outskirts of a fullback conversation at the minute. He's not anywhere near. I don't think he's anybody's first choice, really. Like, I mean, okay, he probably is going to be people's first choice, but
I don't know.
I think he's probably most people's third.
If you're picking on form and you're basing it on this current tournament, unfortunately, he doesn't make it. Not because he's off form, but because the team he's been playing in have been not good. Like they've not bad. They're unfortunate in a few of their losses, coupled by less than a few points. But I think he's fallen away from the conversation because there's other players who have absolutely lit it up. Like Will Jordan's come in, Jordy Barrett's come back from injury. Bowden Barrett's never going to be out of the conversation regardless of what he's doing, just because he's World Player of the Year less than 2 years ago. So, like, these players playing around him, like even Mackay playing the last day with making last-ditch tackles. Like there's a lot of players stepping up and having massive games, whereas I think he's kind of breaking his back trying to carry that team and doing a lot, like you're saying, like scoring half their points. He's the one shining light we talked about throughout the couple of weeks from them, really. The last couple of weeks, up until the last 2 weeks, really, when they started playing a bit better. But I think, like what Wesley's saying, other players have increased their stock, whereas I think Mackenzie has, he's just solidified. Everyone understands exactly what he is. He's not raised his game at all. I think everyone knows how good he is, and that's where he is. But, other players have started raising their game around him. Like,
it's tough as well. I mean, like, he is just back from a pretty long spell of injury. So, I mean, that does give him some kind of credit to work his way back. And I think, like, in regards to an All Blacks situation, he's always, in my mind, been like probably the best sub in the world. Like, he's always come on for All Blacks and all that. Well, in my recollection, I know he hasn't always come on as a sub, but comes on for the last half an hour and just cuts up teams that are running out of gas. Yeah. So maybe, depending on how you want to use him, maybe he's still there in the conversation. But sorry, Sam, go on.
If you were getting a utility sub like that, I'd keep Will Jordan on the bench and just let him run riot from fullback or wing, depending on who needed a break. I know it's unfair on him being a try-scoring machine to not be starting, but I think there's enough good starting wingers for New Zealand to allow Will Jordan to absolutely flourish as a last 20, last 30 player and just run riot. Bring him on, 60 minutes gone when people are a bit tired, and he can come to fullback, he can come wing, he'd probably almost play centre, and he'd just be so devastating to see that. I'd prefer him over Mackenzie for that. Like Mackenzie for soliding up a game that you want to win and just want to keep hold of the win and just keep taking over, yeah, definitely. But Will Jordan is such an exciting player.
Mackenzie's another kicking option as well if needed to, which Will Jordan does have. Well, maybe he does. I'm not going to say Will Jordan can't do anything because that would be stupid. But moving on, next round, then the last round, Highlanders host the Hurricanes. Hurricanes obviously were looking to win that pretty well so that they can solidify hopefully second place, which I'm sure they still can do, which would obviously that would top off a pretty successful campaign for them. Obviously the Chiefs are done and dusted. Look, we've already discussed the Chiefs enough on this podcast, I think.
I think they were unfortunate the weekend. I think they really missed Lachlan Boshier. I think we say about Damien McKenzie been their big weapon, but I think Boshier has been quietly boshing lads for the last couple of weeks. And then with Kane going off injured, I think your man, what's the Fijian guy's name? Sowakula. Like I think he's a brilliant player. Like he's a brilliant natural player, but he just doesn't. His decision making isn't there, and I just think, like the Hurricanes, like we said it before, how aggressive they are. Like I think without a solid back row, they just
and when Artie Savay is dummying the entire team with big loopy dummies.
I genuinely like the term "lol" gets thrown around. I genuinely laughed out loud when I seen that on the pitch. It was like someone who had never dummied anyone in their life before. it was like he YouTubed how to dummy someone and like acted it out. It was so blatantly. It was just great. I loved it.
But he had to laugh at himself about it anyway on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
That's what you want.
Look, Chiefs done and dusted. I think just scrap this entire competition for them and just move on. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Sunday game. I think we've said this about 10 times during this series of podcasts, but possibly game of the competition.
Oh my God.
I think we've said that so many times, but it just keeps happening. Crusaders and Highlanders. Highlanders come out of the gate on fire. Really well, pressurizing Crusaders. Like look on top, good try by Frizzell, Wesley's mate. I'll never mention him on this podcast again unless I have to say your mate.
Cheers.
Start off really well, and then just like that, bang, Crusaders, outrageous try. Like Mwanga cuts through again. Siva Reese in the wing. It's just like it's so disheartening. Must be for another team when like you have all like that first 10 minutes they were all over the Crusaders, and then just like one flick of magic, not game over, but Mwanga's under the posts again. What do you think, Westy?
Yeah, I mean, it's like that try. Well, I mean, there's a lot of great tries in this game, but like that first try in particular it's really a nothing break from Sever Reese. Like, and then is it Bridge and
Jordan, I think, isn't it?
Who are inside, and then like it's just a great break by Reese, and then like fantastic, like even like well spaced hands, but they move the ball through. No one kind of. I think it comes up with Will Jordan later on. Like he has some brilliant decision making on two of their later tries, where I know fullbacks like Sam who would have gone themselves, but he knows the space is there and offloads. It was just
earlier in the competition we did criticize him for that. There was one where he went himself and didn't pass, so at least he's showing that he's learning from that mistake.
But I think in terms of the game itself as a whole, I think that was one of the greatest displays of loose rugby you'll ever see. Like some of these New Zealand teams, like they're so good, they're so well drilled, but like, I mean, there was balls flying everywhere. It was like my Saturday night, and it was just like, it was just really impressive. Like, Really exciting stuff.
I don't know where to go from there. We could do a whole podcast on that. If we wanted
On my
to.
Saturday night, yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I think we'll move on. That was good. I didn't expect that. But then again, Highlanders keep the pressure on. The Crusaders were building from that, and then Nariki scores amazing intercept try. Not even Siva Reese could catch him. Nearly did, but didn't. Not even Will Jordan could catch him either. Turn on the jets and was gone. And then like up to halftime, like Crusaders kind of camping, on the try line of the Highlanders. The Highlanders hold on. They get the 3 points, but halftime up 17 points, 13. The Highlanders have to be happy with that, Sam, and hopeful for the second half. You would think.
Yeah, well, we were saying it. It was like they were doing really well, and we were like, they've been the most dominant team against Crusaders, like even including Hurricanes who beat them, and still only up by 4. Like Crusaders are just so clinical when they need to be. Then going into the second half, you think, okay, just keep going the way you're going, and they did, and they maintained it, and they did exactly what we've said the only probably way to beat Crusaders was just stay ahead of them, and then for a silly decision, like a really, really silly spur of the moment decision to get it, was that the yellow card just cripples him.
Oh, and Ollie Jaeger.
Yeah, just absolutely.
Which I think could have been a red.
I think it should have been a red. I think, and I disagreed wholeheartedly with the commentator, who at the time was saying, "Oh, he's trying to pull back out of it." But I was like, it's like we talked about the other day. It's like slow motion changes how people view things. He's intent on hitting him. He knows where he's going. He's lined him up, and it was such a silly decision, and I think really ruined the entire game for his team, who had played so well. They were in the game there, and then once that happened, you just knew straight away there was no way Crusaders were losing.
Yeah, it was. Wesley, what did you like? I thought it was fairly. There was definitely intent. I think he knew what he was doing, but maybe. What did you think?
Yeah, I think he knew what he was doing. I'd love to disagree with Sam, but I can't. Unfortunately. And we were like, wasn't Ollie Jaeger like sprawled like spread eagle for 5 minutes on the ground?
Had to be carted off.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, and you could say, oh, maybe he milked it a little bit, but it's still a cynical hit. Like it could have been a red. It's on purpose. Like,
yeah,
I think they were lucky it was just a yellow.
But the next point I'm going to make kind of sums up Crusaders rugby. So Highlanders 22-13 up in a good position, and then within 2 minutes, Crusaders score 2 tries and are then 3 points down. So,
on the stroke of 60 minutes, just entering the last 20, in case anybody forgot what their game plan is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And nearly carbon copy tries.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Will Jordan, twice, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then Will Jordan passes last defender, both tries, like the 2 easiest tries George Bridge is ever gonna score probably in his life. And then the Crusaders another try then on 75 minutes, again kind of well worked dummy pass, and then stretcher, and then Highlanders now scored late on, but the Highlanders played really well this game. It's just unfortunately, like every other team apart from the Hurricanes so far, just come up a bit short when it comes to the Crusaders.
I think it's a really really telling moment at the end of the first half when, after kind of being camped on the line for about 5 minutes, Crusaders get the penalty and go for the kick. Like, even they know they're not going to play until the last 20 minutes. It's like, we'll take the 3 points out because we're going to score tries in the last 20 minutes, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And
you think they'll take the scrum, wear them out, go in, get your water on, and come back out? Like,
yeah, no, just fuck it. We'll just tip it over 3 points. But I'll tell you what, this Richie Mwanga lad could be good, lads. I have a feeling he could be good.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago when you guys weren't impressed by Richie Mwanga.
I had started this competition. Impressed. I said that. I said I wasn't sure about him.
Sam, you said Richie Mwanga was New Zealand's equivalent to Ian Madigan.
I did not.
Exact words.
That's disrespectful to Ian Madigan.
Richie Mwanga's hair
nothing good.
Richie Mwanga's hair has nothing on Mad Dog's hair.
Yeah, true.
Just saying.
I'm a big fan of Mad Dog. I'm going to tease him. Good looking else.
Yeah, exactly. Come on the pod and argue with him.
Richie Mwanga.
You said he wouldn't make doing the 14 girls teams. What you said, Sam? That's exactly what you said.
I said Rich Moanga wouldn't lace up Jack Carty's boots, and I stand by it.
Yeah. The sick thing is you probably actually believe that last one. That's the real problem with everything.
Like, we haven't seen Jack Carty in a Super Rugby Aotearoa setting. We don't know.
It's a good point. That is a good point.
Just
Bring him
saying.
out. Jack Carty saved the Chiefs 2021. You heard it here
Oh
first.
God, no! Don't send him there. Anywhere but there.
Anywhere. It's like the Lion King, when Mufasa's looking over what's that part over there? That's Chiefs. Don't go anywhere. Don't go near there.
Don't ever go there.
Don't ever go there. And then obviously, looking ahead to next week, Crusaders travel towards and play the Blues in the last game, which, you know what, I'm going to say it here, could be the game of the competition, Westy.
Last try wins, man. Last try wins.
If it goes ahead.
Last game. Last try wins.
Why isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a sellout. It's supposed to be a sellout in Eden Park, and they're on lockdown now. So if it goes ahead, I think it'll be behind closed doors, which I think will give a whole different kind of feel to this game. Like the beauty of these games they've been so so kind of all good energy, crowd there, everyone feeding off the crowd.
Good vibes, man.
Behind closed doors, and you can hear every curse word and every smack and every hit. It's going to be a different game to watch. That's the case. So fingers crossed it isn't, but I don't see how you can go into lockdown in a city and not put it behind closed doors.
I think they're only the initial lockdown is for the next 3 or 4 days. So it'll be pretty telling. It's not necessarily done yet.
No.
And is it Auckland that's in lockdown? I didn't see exactly where.
Yeah,
it's not the whole country.
Auckland's in the big one.
No, Auckland is in stage 1 lockdown. The rest of the country is in stage 2.
Yeah.
So
Auckland is
credit
where
to New Zealand.
The family was,
4 cases and the country goes back into lockdown. Like, New Zealand don't play that shit.
Yeah, that's why they've had 100 days without virus. That's why they've got crowds at sports events. Like, it's not complicated.
But I said, as a tweet earlier on, they've got a woman run the country, Westy. They need a man in there. They need a man like Boris Johnson or Donald Trump. That's what they need. A real leader.
TJ Paranara.
Yeah.
Oh my God, who wouldn't vote for TJ Paranara? I just checked up there, boys. The Blues game's Sunday. It's a real disappointment.
4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, or as I like to say, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yay! There you go.
Hey.
Just stay off Twitter. Simple. But yeah, Highlanders Hurricanes. Any predictions? Do we think the Hurricanes will do enough there to hopefully or possibly secure second place?
I'd be very worried about that Highlanders playing the way they played, and Hurricanes not capitalizing. Like, they played well against Chiefs. Like, definitely did play well and have all the ability in the world. Julian Salve should be playing as well. He's been signed and he didn't play last weekend, but he should be playing this weekend. I'd say they're not going to sign him for the remainder of the tournament and not play him.
He's working through an injury. I think he was on the sideline at the weekend.
Is he?
He's working through an injury. I think he signed for more than the Super Rugby, though. I think they're hoping he'll stick around. I didn't get the full details of it.
I'd say so, but I'd love to see him playing if he is fit. But realistically, this is a tough game. That Highlanders team are going to want to prove something as well, because they've been very good, but are unfortunately kind of falling away from the middle of the pack, if you get me. And it's looking like they were in a league with Chiefs down the bottom, which they weren't. They were a much better team than the Chiefs. Chiefs are there on attempt marks, really. Like, they get their 6 their 6 losing bonus points or whatever it was, and they somehow managed to not be far off the Highlanders, which is unfair on the Highlanders, I think, because they've been good. So I think that's going to be an extremely tough
said this
game.
before, Sam, as well. On paper, are the Highlanders that much better than the Chiefs? I wouldn't think they are.
The Highlanders are a younger squad as well, I think. I think they are kind of predicted to kind of kick on and, develop over the next season or two, whereas Chiefs have a few more old heads, maybe.
Under the good leadership of Michael Collins, they can't fail, I reckon.
Yeah. True.
Who could fail under Michael Collins' leadership? Not anybody I ever heard of.
No one. That's a master of none guarantee. And then obviously the big game, the game that we're all looking forward to, Crusaders Blues. I'm going to go with the Blues because I want them to win. I want to see Bowden have a good game, like a really good game, because I like Bowden and I don't think he's had a great game yet, and I want him to finish strong personally because I like him. But what do you think, Westy? Crusaders or the Blues? I know who you're going to back, obviously. But...
Well, obviously, I keep backing the Blues, and they don't deliver. So I'm going to double down and back the Blues again. No, I think look, they've had.
Let me get up close. Blue, you're my boy.
I'm going to talk down here. You're my boys, Blues. Yeah, no, look, and I think, Blues want to come second. They want to capitalize on what's been a great season for them so far. A brilliant return to the pack, let's say, after being the kind of whipping boy for a couple of years. That's a bit
and then
strong.
Bowden is hightailing it out of there, and you'll be back to the whipping boys before you know it.
Yeah.
But see, look, Bowden's got a legacy to leave. It's like, as we said, like this is what I kind of was saying about Bowden going to Japan. Is the same thing we just said about McKenzie. Like, Bowden's not going to build stock in Japan. He's only going to let other people build stock against him. So he needs to leave a good taste in people's mouths. What better than to do it against Moanga?
It's fair.
I like it.
I want Crusaders to win, not because I want Crusaders to win, but because I want Hurricanes to come second. and also because my mate Ely, who is actually from Auckland and an actual Blues fan, not one of these bandwagon jumpers.
Ely, I know him for the fan club, yeah.
Wore a Blues jersey on the golf course today and beat me, so I need to shut that up quick enough.
I can't believe the golf course allowed a Blues rugby jersey on the course. That is,
and they have them in Every's in Ternan. I was tempted to buy one a few weeks ago.
How much?
We lost to Crusaders and Hurricanes.
Off air, I'll give you an old website for a bit of a cheap enough jersey.
Nice one.
100% legitimate.
Of course. Yeah.
Signed
by Bowden Barrett himself. Signed by Baden Barrack. It's close enough. All right, boys. Cheers. We'll leave it there. Obviously, check out, if you didn't hear already, last week we ditched Westy. And we got Niall Murray, Connacht Senior, second row on the podcast to talk about basically his first year as a senior, how COVID sort of has impacted his first season and how that's impacted him, upcoming into pros, and sort of like how life is
compared to other people. Like he's taller than other
people. He's just like us. He put on weight over the lockdown. He's just like us. Like,
if you want to play a fun game, you can count how many times Sam references his own rugby career in the interview, which is about 20.
Yeah, because it's well worth talking
about. Turn
into
a drinking game.
It's well worth talking about. I know you're playing at the top level, Niall, but I played.
So on the Corinthians third, what we do. These things called a Bronco. Have you ever heard of them?
I have never heard of a Bronco. I played thirds rugby, West.
I'm very close to get on to Finley Beelum just to tell him how to scrummage a bit, just to lock the arm, just to get lower. You know what I mean? But yeah, check that out. It's on obviously the podcast page and YouTube, and then check out obviously this podcast as well. You can follow us on Twitter at @none_podcast, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube's all Master of None. You find us there. All right, boys. Cheers. See you next week.
Bye.